Well, it basically started after the founding of Jamestown in 1607. Captain John Smith, who was one of the founders, was on an exploration up the Chesapeake Bay and up the Potomac to find out what was here. And as he came up the river, he went by what is now Mount Vernon and Belvoir and realized that this was a significant military location. He went back, and as the colony grew over the next 100 years, it moved farther north into the Washington area. In 1711, Lord Fairfax acquired 5.2 million acres, what later became Fairfax County, named after him. He established a plantation where Fort Belvoir is right now, and of course he called it Belvoir, which meant place of beauty. In 1748, he met a young man by the name of George Washington. And he was only 16 at the time, but he was impressed with him, his vigor, his energy, his skills, and things like that. And he hired George Washington to survey his lands as far as the Shenandoah Valley. 8 years later, he became a member of the Virginia colonial militia, and he became the American senior aide to General Braddock. And where this became significant is General Braddock in 1755. This was the French-American Indian War was ongoing, and they marched toward what is now present-day Pittsburgh. En route, they were attacked, ambushed essentially by the Indians and the French. George Washington basically saved the day by preventing a rout and did a retreat, an organized retreat. This was recognized by the colonial governor of Virginia, who thereby appointed him the colonel of all the colonial militia forces in Virginia. Now we jump literally 20 years ahead, and you have Lexington and Concord. Washington, General Washington, Colonel Washington at that time was well recognized, and they were looking for somebody to take over commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. And again, proved himself. He did not win every battle. Matter of fact, he lost more than he won. However, he was able to always leave the field in some organized manner, which he kept the American forces together. The next major military action in this part of the country was War of 1812. Most of it was fought up in Ohio and Michigan and places like that. However, in 1814, the British made basically an invasion up the Chesapeake River. Their target was Washington, D.C., and basically it was in retribution for the Revolutionary War. The Civil War had a tremendous impact on Northern Virginia and Fairfax County. In May 23rd, 1861, Virginia finally decided to secede from the Union. The day after, President Lincoln ordered Union forces across the river to occupy Alexandria because it was a threat to from artillery fire. They could have engaged Washington, D.C. Throughout the war, there was only one major battle in Fairfax County, and that's was known either as Oxon Hill or the Battle of Chantilly. The major significance was a very quick battle. Significance was the only time in the war that the Union forces lost two major generals. Major General Kearny and Major General Stevens during that battle. And after the Civil War, had Reconstruction. That took a while, and basically Fairfax County fell into disarray. When I say that, it was ignored and struggled for a while. We started the 20th century. Basically, the War Department realized the importance of the old Belvoir plantation, which of course was now abandoned. And starting in 1907, they started to acquire that land. Of course, only a few years later, matter of fact, 7 years later, First World War broke out. And the decision was made that this war was too big to be fought by volunteer militia, National Guard forces. So they decided to create a larger federal army. They were looking for places where could they train the soldiers. Well, Camp Belvoir was established, and it became a major training area for soldiers, American soldiers, that eventually go overseas for World War I. And then eventually they changed the name to Fort Belvoir. It became a major training area for World War II. And jumping forward to today, Fort Belvoir is really a major headquarters for not only Army, but Department of Defense organizations out there. So it's one of those things that if George Washington or Laura Fairfax were to come back to life today, they would be surprised to see what has happened.